Good afternoon. My name is Matthew DeSarno. I'm the Special Agent in charge of FBI Dallas. Today I am joined by my partners from the Dallas Police Department, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Northern District of Texas, the Drug Enforcement Administration Dallas Division, and the ATF Dallas Division. We're here today to announce or to advise you of an update regarding a significant law enforcement action that took place today in the area of Fair Park. That investigation was a joint investigation between the Dallas Police Department, FBI Dallas, Safe Streets Task Force, with significant support from both the ATF and the DEA. I'll tell you a little bit about the task force and the general operations, but I do want to set expectations because this is such a recent event and the court documents have not been unsealed yet. I'm limited in we are extremely limited in what we'll be able to say about the investigation itself, but we will provide details about that as they become available in the very near future. While much of the community slept this morning, the FBI, Dallas Police Department, DEA, and assets from numerous other FBI field offices and FBI headquarters conducted a large-scale law enforcement operation consisting of more than 400 law enforcement personnel. This operational response was designed with protecting the community in mind. FBI Dallas operational elements were supported by FBI headquarters, Critical Incident Response Group, our hostage rescue team and their supporting elements, the Criminal Justice Information Services Division biometrics team, and then SWAT and evidence response teams from multiple neighboring FBI field offices throughout the region. The goal of this operation is to make a significant impact on violent crime in Dallas. Fighting violent crime is a responsibility that we all share, and today's message really is that we, as a law enforcement leadership team, are committed to partnering with each other and with the community to have a positive impact on violent crime in Dallas. The FBI specifically has surged agents and other resources to assist our partners and work closely with our partners in operations similar to the one conducted today in order to specifically have a significant impact on violent crime. In this instance, the Dallas Police Department and our FBI Safe Streets Task Force here in Dallas identified an area of significant violence, gang-related violence, drug trafficking-related violence, and overall violent crime. We utilized the task force model to initiate an investigation specifically aimed at identifying the perpetrators of that crime and then conducting enterprise-type investigations to have an impact on the crime. Chief Garcia, I think, will talk a little bit more specifically about some of the crime that has been going on in that area. But we were talking about the area surrounding west and southwest of Fair Park, which has been plagued with that type of activity for a long time. The main mechanism through which we did this was our Safe Streets Violent Crime Task Force. The FBI National Initiative was started in 1992 with the goal of combining federal, state, and local resources, authorities, and investigative abilities to eliminate street gang-related violence and other violent crime. We are primarily focused on working with our partners, the partners you see here with me today, to serve as a force multiplier, to lead intelligence-informed investigations focused on the most violent offenders in the most violent areas, and that's what our goal was in the operation that occurred today. We consider today's operation a success. It spanned multiple locations, multiple subjects, on a range of charges, utilizing traditional and sophisticated investigative techniques. And through our law enforcement partners, we are attempting to send a loud and clear message to violent criminals that we will deploy our collective strength to ensure the safety and security of our neighborhoods and communities. You're going to hear a little bit about from our partners now about how they contributed to the investigation and to today's operation. I'd like to turn it over to Dallas Police Chief Eddie Garcia.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks everybody for being here. I just want to start off by saying that I can't express the appreciation we have for our Dallas FBI office. I feel like a very fortunate police chief, not only here in Dallas, but across this country. I can tell you that. The genesis of this investigation simply began with the words, "How can we help and where do you need us?" Well, in collaboration with our gang detectives and our task force officers, that area was simple. It was an area, as Matt described, south of Dallas, that make up one of 35 sectors in our city that in 2018 experienced 315 aggravated assaults. In 2019, that number jumped to 367 aggravated assaults. And in 2020, that number jumped even higher to 485 aggravated assaults. In 2018, 10 murders. In 2019, 12 murders. And in 2020, 23 murders. Keep in mind, this makes up one of 35 sectors in the city, and approximately 10% of our murders last year. This is the reason our police department takes part in joint task forces with our federal partners. I applaud the efforts of our DPD task force officer, our gang unit in support, and our gang unit and narcotics unit in support, in the partnership and the diligent work of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The actions today are precisely what are outlined in our violent crime reduction strategy plan. Not only were our target grids affected, but also this is where place network investigations begin, the disruption of criminal enterprises. The message today for the residents of Dallas is simple. The DPD is not alone in keeping our communities safe. The DPD is not alone in weeding the criminal element off of our streets. And the DPD is not alone in seeding our communities with hope. We'll be asking ourselves, what can we do to strengthen these neighborhoods? We'll be asking ourselves, what do we need to invest in these communities? How do we combat to improve education, poverty, and blight in these communities? For those are long-term solutions. But this doesn't end here. Much more work needs to be done in our city. But together, we're stronger. But our message to the criminal element in Dallas is just as stout. The DPD are not the only ones watching. That, when combined with our residents' trust, is a powerful adversary. Together, we'll be friends of the vulnerable and just, but a formidable foe to those who wish to do harm to our city. And although we recognize that true long-term violent crime solutions cannot merely be solved by actions such as this, we also recognize that these actions are necessary. And as I've said many times, please do not mistake kindness for weakness. In addition to all the FBI resources and our federal partners here, I'd like to thank the DPD units I mentioned earlier, and I wish to thank our SWAT team, canines, and all the patrol elements that assisted this morning. Y si quieren hablar en español después de esto, cuando se termina todo el mundo podemos hablar. Gracias.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. As Zach DeSarno said, my name is Preet. I'm the acting United States Attorney for the Northern District of Texas. I think we all know, like many cities across the country, Dallas is bracing for a surge in violent crime this summer. I know we've all watched with some alarm as homicide rates spiked last year. Violence almost always spikes during the summer months, but the chaos and frustration surrounding the pandemic has only made things more unpredictable and more volatile. That's why I'm so grateful to the law enforcement leaders here today, FBI, DPD, DEA, ATF, for a successful operation today. You know, as you heard this morning, more than 250 tactical officers and agents, many from here in Dallas, but others on loan from across the country, put themselves in harm's way to stem this summer surge. As the SAC and chief said, you may have seen the activity this morning, SWAT teams, planes flying overhead, but these teams were backed up behind the scenes by a host of specialized units, from hostage rescue to evidence response to medical teams to technical teams to critical incident response teams. This was a team effort on behalf of our federal, state, and local partners. And we'll have more details about the outcome of today's takedown as soon as we can, but I can tell you right now that this marks a meaningful step in our fight against violent crime in Dallas. You know, 2 weeks ago, Attorney General Merrick Garland announced that the Justice Department has a plan for combating the recent surge in violent crime. And that includes collaborating with federal, state, and local law enforcement groups to identify a city's most violent offenders and identify their most dangerous groups. You know, this office, this city, has long embraced the use of data-driven enforcement, and today's action is no exception. You know, the agencies and the people here today analyzed which areas and identified which people and groups were the drivers of violent crime, the types of crimes that devastate communities, and then took decisive action against those individuals. Now, the Attorney General's plan also includes making use of cutting-edge tools like mobile computer forensic kiosks, biometric equipment, all things that were utilized today to dig into how those situations are provoking and prolonging criminal behavior in our cities. Unlike a lot of law-abiding people in this country, most of the recidivists that are responsible for the worst crimes on our streets, they know the difference between state and federal crimes. They know the difference between state time and federal time, and they do not want to get federal time. That's why the law enforcement action that you saw today, it actually serves two purposes. First, to take some of our city's most violent criminals off the streets, but also to signal to the rest of the city that the feds are watching, we're working with Dallas Police Department, and we're ready to take action. And that's a message that we want everyone to hear and to know that our efforts to stop violent crime in this city are only starting. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Eduardo Chavez. I'm the special agent in charge of the DEA Dallas Field Division. I just want to first thank all of you for being here and thank our partners here for the opportunity to stand with them hand in hand. It is something that is always near and dear to the DEA when it comes to drug trafficking and how it affects families. Whether it's a gram or a kilogram, families are affected by drug trafficking here in this city. Whether they are affected because a family member is an addict and are struggling with that addiction, or where their families are affected just through the violence and the nature of the greed that feeds drug trafficking organizations. So the DEA stands here to be able to act as that force multiplier, to stand hand in hand with our partners, to be able to take these grams and kilograms and continue further up that food chain to identify the international criminal organizations that are responsible for this. And we appreciate you being here to recognize that. We feel that families will sleep safer tonight because of the actions that were taken today. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Beaucheck. I'm the special agent in charge of ATF here in Dallas. I'll be brief. It's hard to follow this crew. They talk very well of what this operation was about. ATF's a smaller agency, but we've got a pretty distinct line of work that we do. It's violent crime, most of which is with firearms. The area we were at this morning, or the Bureau was at this morning, the DPD, when we look at crime good intelligence around the whole Metroplex, the DFW Metroplex, this was the most dangerous area in the DFW Metroplex. As we look at our ballistics, our NIBIN ballistic technology, and where we're tracing firearms to and where we're recovering shell casings and matching shootings, this was the hottest spot in the DFW Metroplex. That means a lot, right? When you look at, everybody sees every day on the news that arrests are made, but this is going to have a long-term effect on violent crime in Dallas. So I'm proud to be up here. I think North Texas has always had a great relationship when it comes to law enforcement, but I think it's a new day. I think Chief Garcia, this team that's up here right now, I think that we're working better together now than we ever have. The feds, the states, the local agencies here in North Texas, North Texans should be proud of the agencies that are representing them on the streets today. So I look forward to continuing this progress as we move forward as a team together. And I can tell you, if I was a bad guy and I'm watching this right now, I wouldn't want this team after you because we're not leaving. Every single day we're tracking shootings across the Metroplex, and we know who's doing the shootings. A small percentage of people out there will pull that trigger, and we're starting more and more to identify them, and we're going to come after you, and we're going to get you. So I appreciate the time, Matt. Thank you.